Welcome in, I'm Artress. In this video, we're going to be going over Red Green Luffy, a new leader from OP13 that reads Dawn ×1 on your opponent's attack. If you have 5 or less active Dawn cards on your field, you may rest any number of your active Dawn cards. Up to one of your leader or Straw Hat crew type characters gains plus 2,000 power for each Dawn that was rested by this effect. When I first read this effect, I was really curious as to how this leader would play out, and after playing with this leader, he turns out to be a very tanky leader for the first stages of the game, and also very hard to crack in the end stages of the game as well. So this leader overall is pretty strong. However, we are in a meta where just everything's being overrun by Ace and Emu, and unfortunately, this leader doesn't quite hold up to those leaders overall. I think it's a deck to be respected and can definitely win against those decks, but it takes a little bit of cheese and definitely the right setup to get there. But before we go over the deck list, if you're new to the channel, please make sure to hit that sub button. We're very close to 10,000 subs. If we could get there by the end of the year, I would be extremely grateful. Thank you all for the support. Additionally, if you'd like to talk about the One Piece card game outside of the YouTube comments, make sure to join the Discord community. The link for that is in the description below. First up, we're running a playset of the Nami Searcher from OP01. This could also be the green Nami Searcher, I suppose. I think they have very similar effects, if not the same effect. Just looking at the top 5 of your deck and then grabbing a Straw Hat crew type card other than Nami and adding it to your hand. This, of course, being able to grab Straw Hat crew, most of your deck is Straw Hat, so of course when this searches, you will very likely be able to grab something at least. If you don't, that is very low odds, but it does happen from time to time. Next up, we have a playset of Garp Searcher from OP13. Just being able to look at the top 4 and grab anything that's cost 3 or higher is really strong. So this mostly is going to be used to grab my threats, like my 6 cost Luffy or my 9 cost Zoro. It can grab 2Ks because we have some 2Ks that are 3 cost or higher. Between the Garp and the Nami, you should be able to get most of the pieces you're looking for. This is a combo deck at the end of the day because we're trying to find 3 significant pieces to be able to close out the game. So Garp and Nami, between the 2 of them, can find all of those pieces. Next, I'm running a playset of the Nami 1 cost. This is a card from Starter Deck 1 that says activate main once per turn. Give up to 1 rested Dawn card to your leader or one of your characters. So this will allow you to at least use your leader ability or get your leader ability used more often, because sometimes when you do play characters on curve and they don't restand Dawn like Cavendish or the Sanji 5 cost, you do need to be able to leave Dawn open and also have a Dawn underneath your leader. So sometimes you can tap out and not use your leader ability, but with this Nami, there are instances where maybe you don't completely tap out, you have 1 Dawn open, and then you can use that 1 Dawn that you've already paid to play something that turn to put underneath your leader. So at least you can use your leader ability at least once for that turn. So Nami does have some very nice use because of that. One of the big combo pieces in this deck is the 2 cost Sanji 2K counter. On play, choose up to one of your Straw Hat crew type characters with a power of 6,000 or more. During this turn, your opponent cannot activate blocker when that character attacks. So we are specifically trying to find this to put this on the 9 cost Zoro so that it becomes unblockable. This is a great finisher for this deck, so make sure to hold on to at least 1 when you get to that end game stage. Running a playset of the 4 cost Chopper Blocker 2K counter, so it does a little bit of everything. If you want it to be a 2K counter, you can keep it in your hand. If you need a little bit extra protection on the field, you can put the Chopper out to protect like a unit, and it is a strong defensive unit. Being 6,000 power on defense means that you can block with this, use your leader ability, and then also protect it up to 8,000 with just a single 1 Dawn. So that's really nice, of course. Most of the time, though, I am keeping this in my hand. A 2K counter that I am going to try to play out more often than not, and I think also could be considered part of the combo, is the Tashigi 2K counter from OP10. This card just allows your green characters to dodge removal, which is really important because a lot of your threats are green. So this card, when placed strategically, can really turn the tides of the game into your favor. Another new card for this deck is the 3 cost Bonnie Blocker. It is from PRBO2. It says on your opponent's attack once per turn, set up to one of your Dawn cards as active. So this is kind of like a sneaky way to get an additional 2K counter off your leader ability, especially if you have the Dawn underneath your leader already. The Bonnie on the field will then every turn when they attack restand 1, so you can at least get that plus 2,000. You probably have more Dawn active as well, so this will just add to that, but Bonnie is a really nice defensive unit for 2 purposes, just being able to flat out block something or then also give you more Dawn for your leader ability. Next up, I'm running 2 Cavendish. I'm not running a playset for this list because I think that this card, while really good, sometimes can be a trap, because I feel like on 5, I'd rather just play the 5 cost Sanji. This Cavendish, though, is a nice backup plan. It is not a Straw Hat crew type character, so you cannot use your leader ability to protect it, so keep that in mind. That's one of the reasons why we have it at 2. I'll go over some of the deck list changes I might make at the end of the video, and I think this is probably one of them that I would change, so stick around for that. Next up, we have a playset of the new 5-cost Sanji from OP13. Just on play, set up to 2 of your Dawn cards as active, and then end of your turn, if your leader has the film or Straw Hat crew type, set up to 1 of your Dawn cards as active. So this is really good for this deck because of the fact that you're able to get 3 Dawn back by the end of your turn to either use for your leader ability or to make an attack more powerful. What's really good about this card is that it gets value over the course of the game because of the fact that at the end of every turn, you're able to restand a Dawn. So you're at least able to guarantee your leader ability every turn with this thing. So very nice, of course. In situations where maybe you have a Dawn underneath your leader, you tapped out playing something else, this will at least stand one of those Dawn up at the end of your turn. So very valuable. One of the key pieces for this deck, and maybe even a solid backup win condition, is this 6-cost Luffy from OP13. It's a double attack, and then on play, if your leader is multicolored, set up to 4 of your Dawn cards as active. Then you cannot play characters with a base cost of 5 or more during this turn. I wish that you could. Obviously, that'd be a little bit broken. I'd like to be able to play a Luffy and then play a Sanji in the same turn. We don't really have anything else that we would want to play out in the same turn, maybe other than a blocker, chopper, or Tashigi, whatever it may be. This Luffy's really putting your opponent on the clock because once they see this hit the field, they know that you're going to start hitting them very hard, and also the double attack is nothing to scoff at. So this is a really solid backup win condition, as the main win condition of this deck is the 9-cost Zoro. This card is perfect for this deck because of the fact that usually by the time you're able to play a 9-cost, as a normal leader, if you haven't been countering out actively, you're usually down to like 3, sometimes even 2 life, depending on if you're a 4-life leader. But with Red Green Luffy, you're able to get to your 9 Dawn turn relatively safe. So most times I'm able to get to 9 Dawn and I'm still at 4 life. I haven't taken a single hit. And when you drop this down, you're usually going to tap out unless you have any of the other cards I talked about, like this 5-cost Sanji, maybe this Bonnie, or a Cavendish as well. You're usually tapping out on 9, so it means you're going to take a hit or 2. And so you have to counter out with the cards in your hand rather than your leader ability, and you want to stay at 4 life by that time. So that's why I think this card is perfect for this deck. The combo here, though, is that you're able to swing 3 times unblockable with this Sanji, along with an event that we'll just go over right now, this 3-cost Gum Gum Giant Pistol. Give up to 1 of your Straw Hat crew type characters plus 6,000 power until the end of your turn. Then that character does not become active during your next refresh phase. So you're able to stack this onto the Zoro, make the Zoro unblockable, and then swing 3 times for what's probably close to 16,000, 17,000 attack, which is going to be very hard for anybody to get out of 3 times, especially if they're already at like 1 or 0 life. So this Zoro is your game winner. You're trying to play for this card. It's a very combo-centric deck because you're able to at least play this out. If your opponent has an answer to this, it's over, you're done, go on to the next game. But that's why we're running the Tashigi. What I like to do on the turn before I'm dropping the 9-cost Zoro is usually drop the 6-cost Luffy, restand Dawn, and then play the Tashigi out. If I don't have the 6-cost Luffy out, then I'm just playing the Tashigi regardless the turn before I'm playing the 9-cost, because it means that they have to answer this, and then they have to answer the 9-cost Zoro. If this is on the field and then this comes down, they cannot red rock it, so it's at least safe for a turn, which is really nice. That's why we're running a playset of the Tashigi, because it's a great card to protect this 9-cost Zoro. Then as like a backup, I don't know if this is a win condition per se, but it's definitely a strong beater that puts your opponent on a further clock outside of the cards we've already mentioned. The 10-cost 12,000 power Shanks on play set up to all of your Dawn cards as active. Then you cannot play any cards from your hand during this turn. So this is a really good card if you already have a sizable board, or maybe you have this Zoro already on the field. You can drop the 10-cost Shanks, swing with the Zoro really large, and then restand it multiple times, and then use the rest of the Dawn to at least stay healthy for your leader ability, or maybe add those Dawn cards to other cards in the field and swing higher. So I don't want to see this card too often. I am happy with seeing it maybe once a game. That's why we have it at 2. It is searchable off the GARP, mind you, so you can find it if you need it. But most of the times I'm not like needing this card. I'm needing the 9-cost Zoro. So we're looking for this card more often than not. This is a good backup plan for having a tall character, just in case you need one though. Next, I'm running 2 DMGs, just a really solid way to either rest your opponent's Dawn if they're leaving it up for counter events, or blockers. In this meta, there's just so many blockers, and getting past those if you don't have the unblockable Sanji 2K, this is a great way to do that. Next, I'm running 2 Charleston. This is a 2-cost counter event that says up to 1 of your leader or characters gains plus 4,000 power during the battle. Then you may discard a card if you did set up to 3 of your Dawn as active. This is kind of a cheesy survivability tool, being able to give your leader or character plus 4,000 on defense, then get that additional plus 6 to use for subsequent attacks is really powerful, and your opponent might not expect it. The trigger ability is not super relevant, but just note that it does rest one of your opponent's leaders or a character with a cost of 3 or less, so that can come in handy if your opponent like miss-swung, did their sequence a little bit wrong. And I mentioned the Gum Gum Giant Pistol. This is, of course, just a really strong plus 6,000. It doesn't have to go on the Zoro. It can go on any of your Straw Hat Crew type cards. It can even go on this Nami if you so choose. Swinging for 8 is pretty powerful on a 1-cost character, so people might not expect that. It's a little bit of a cheese, but of course, we're trying to pair this up with the 9-cost Zoro just to be able to swing really large. The trigger on this is also somewhat relevant from time to time. Resting one of your opponent's cost 4 or lower characters means that you can rest things like Marco Blocker for free, so that's really nice, of course. Now, I'm not trying to sell you on this deck being a strong meta pick. I don't think that's the case at all. I do think that this deck can survive and hold its own against the top dogs right now. I think that it does have survivability and a good win condition against decks that run lots of blockers or go down to 0 pretty easily. This Zoro with the Sanji into the Gum Gum Pistol is just too strong, and so we're going to try to pull that off in the games today. But I think this deck list overall feels pretty solid. We'll talk about some of the changes we'll make at the end of the video. But in the meantime, let's take this list into the sim and see how it does. All right, Teach, they choose to go second. This is actually going to be a difficult matchup, and at least we have a curve here going first with this 1-cost Nami into the Bonnie into a Cavendish. But I fully expect the Cavendish to not have an on play, and of course, if the Teach sees any of their 10 costs, and we see 9 cost, we're screwed. So we kind of just have to play it as is. This is going to be a tough matchup. They do get a trigger with their This Is My Age, revealing the 10 drop, Speak of the Devil. Our hand is just okay. It's got a couple of 2Ks in it. We can play this Cavendish down at least this next turn. This turn, what we'll do is when they swing, we'll use the Bonnie ability to restand a Dawn and then get out of the attack. The Shiryu has the ability to KO this Bonnie, which is pretty annoying, so we might want to use it as a blocker. They're just off the rip going and using their leader ability, which is fine, because on 5 is when I start doing some on plays. There's the 9 cost. It might be worth just throwing it down anyway, just to be able to force them to play the 10 cost. We'll go ahead and play out the Cavendish here. We'll put the Nami ability onto the Luffy and swing 6, and then we'll still be able to get our leader ability off on defense this next turn. They do take that. A little bit surprised that they took that. I thought they might want to block that one, but they're probably holding on to it for next turn so that when I do end up swinging with the Cavendish, they can at least get out of one of those hits for free. The VV is something I don't really see into Teach as much anymore. I think they've opted for Caribou being that blocker. Double Shiryu. Yikes. Okay. So here, I think we could take this because we're not going to give him a card. We want to keep those cards for the bodies on board. If they swing Shiryu, we're going to swing into it, I think. They don't. Okay. This turn, what we'll do is we'll play out the 5-cost Sanji. It doesn't have an on play. Oh well, not a big deal. We can use the Nami ability yet again. A really important reason for Nami being on the field, being that catalyst to be able to get our leader ability off every turn. Here, they just pop the blocker. That's expected. Maybe an argument to be able to use the blocker last turn, I suppose. But 7 into 5, let's see if they block again. They just take this one, and then we'll play out another Nami just in case, and then we'll restand the Dawn at the end of the turn with the Sanji ability. A really good card for this deck, of course. This turn on 8, usually they're going to try to establish a Burgess of some sort, or maybe blocker up even further than what they have. So they already have 2 blockers on the field. They're probably vying for the 10 cost to come out next turn. So this turn, they might just want to play a little bit more aggressive, have some bigger bodies like Burgess hit the field, maybe play Kuzan, swing 8 into the Cavendish, and then pop the Kuzan to get a Burgess out. All right, using leader ability to pitch a black hole to black hole my leader. There's the Kuzan, as expected. Popping the Kuzan for what is likely going to be a Burgess. It could be also a Van Augur. Maybe they have a Van Augur to... Okay, so Burgess, probably the correct choice here, just to get a strong attacker the turn before they play out their 10-drop. And then I would suspect they're going to swing this 8 into the Cavendish because I can't use my leader ability on it, and I'd have to give them 2 cards. Unfortunately, it's 2 2Ks, so we're going to go ahead and just give them both of these two 2Ks here. We're going to keep the Sanji 2K counter, the unblockable one, just in case they forget to turn off on plays. We'll throw out the Zoro. We'll then put a Dawn underneath the Cavendish. We'll swing 7 into lead here. There is a... I kind of want to swing 7 again. Okay, yeah, that's fair. I'm going to put a Dawn underneath... I probably should have put a Dawn underneath my leader with that Nami. That's a mistake on my part. Oops. Hopefully don't get punished for that. We'll put swing 6 into lead here. This would have been a 7. Would have been nice to have 3 7s, of course. They take the 6. Interesting to see. Seems to be a trigger. Could be another My Era. It's a black spiral. Ooh. Well, if we're not going to be able to use that ability anyway, I think we just swing 8. We're not going to be able to have our Sanji restand a Dawn at the end of the turn, but they took the 6, so they're going to have to either be forced to take this hit or block with a VV. Either of those I'm really okay with. They take the hit. If they don't use their leader ability, we can give the 5-cost Sanji or the Zoro unblockable, but this turn will likely be the 10-cost to freeze the Zoro, and also the 10-cost is going to freeze my leader ability, so actually it's pretty good that we just stacked the other Dawn onto the Sanji, because we wouldn't have been able to use it either way, considering the 10-cost stops leader abilities on defense. So yeah, I think it was pretty good that we actually put that Dawn onto the Sanji in hindsight. 7 into 6 here, I think we just protect it because we're not going to be able to use the Sanji 2K counter. And if they're wanting to play the 10-cost, they can't swing the Teach into anything else, so we just take the 1 hit. And that also is an argument to play out this second 9-cost that we have in our hand, because if we play out the second one and they play another 10-cost, they can't freeze both of them. They can only freeze one at a time, so really good for us there. Yep, 10-cost, leader abilities turned off, and my 9-cost Zoro can't attack. We'll take the 5 from the Teach. Too many Zoros. Wow, another Zoro in hand. Okay, so we'll actually just play out this other Zoro here. I think that's probably going to be our best bet. Just go ahead and play this out, and then put a Dawn underneath our leader. I think this kind of forces him a little bit awkwardly to either have another 10 drop. We'll swing 6, restand. If they play another 10 drop, our leader ability is turned off, but that means we actually likely don't die either. We'll swing 7 into lead here. They take that. And we're not going to swing the Sanji because they're just going to free block it with the Teach. So they just block that one with the VV, which is nice to see that that is out of the way. And then the Sanji will not go down. And like I said, if they want to use the 10 drop here, that means we actually survive this turn because we can throw out a Tashigi for their leader swing. And seeing that they only have 3 cards in hand, we can definitely go for lethal this next turn. It's pretty easy from here on out. 8 into 6, we'll let that go. They go 5 into lead. We just take that one. And then here, we just swing with the 7 with the Sanji, just a straight off to see how they react to this. It's either a 2 and a 1 or a block. And if that's the case, then what we can end up doing is just swing 5, get a card out of hand, and then put the rest onto the Zoro, and then do the 3 swings here. Obviously, one's going to be blocked, and then the next one will go through. For game. So yeah, this matchup, we got a little bit lucky that we saw 2 Zoros, but usually you only see 1 and you can never win. So GG to the opponent. Zoro and Sanji, a deck that I always respect. I always think it's a pretty solid deck no matter what. I think it has a pretty solid matchup into Emu and also Ace. Obviously, those decks are going to be really good against it no matter what, but I think if you want a fighting chance against those decks, Zoro and Sanji is a pretty solid choice here. It's very aggressive and it swings multiple times in a turn. This hand is pretty nice because we do have the Nami to start off with, get an immediate leader ability off with establishing this body on the board at the same time. We do need to draw into something for 5, which I hope to find in the next turn or two. We are able to play out the Bonnie this next turn at least and establish a blocker in the meantime. Put the Dawn underneath our leader here and swing 6 in a lead. And then the following turn, we could have swung 7 and been a little bit more aggressive here with that, but I think it's fine to leave the 2 because we'll restand 1 with the Bonnie. So leaving 1 open, restand 1 with Bonnie, we'll be able to get out of a pretty large swing up to 8 at least if they decide to go that route. But this turn, they're probably just going to play a body for 4 and okay, a body for 5 also works. And one that's really scary too. This smoker usually will attack twice, is the restand target, and double attack banish is pretty nasty, of course. So we'll get out of this attack with our leader ability. Drew into the Sanji at just the right time. I think what we do is then put 1 underneath our leader. We could have done, just a 6 with the Nami and leave an extra open to be safe, but we are getting a lot of Dawn back at the end of the turn. These two rested right here. One of them restands with the Sanji, and then one of them with the Bonnie here. So we just pass. This turn, ooh, okay, so 6 cost Luffy coming down for Zoro and Sanji. A really good addition to the deck. Not only do they have a banish unit, they also have a double attack unit, so pretty gross overall. We're gonna, every time we're gonna get out of this attack for sure. We're gonna use double the Open Dawn here and rest to go +4. We have to do it for the second attack that comes through as well because they're going to do that. They're going to play out this Zoro, restand 2 Dawn, put 1 underneath their leader, swing 6. I think we could argue to take the 6. We also have the ability to use the Charleston. We also have the Dead Man's Game as well. This Brook I have not seen. Just looks like they're going really wide here. So set up to one of your Dawn cards is active. Okay, so they're going to go 6-8. If that's the case, more than likely. They'll probably bounce this character back to hand, because they have to put Dawn on it to swing, which is not great. So 6, we just take that one, and if they go 8 here, then we just use our leader ability again. We'll just take the one that's not banish. I think that's fine. We will play a Luffy of our own. So how do you like that? Okay, so we'll restand 4, swing 7. I think it's worth just swinging lead, just being aggressive here. We'll go 6 into lead. We want to push them down to a low life total. Then I think what we can do is actually we might be able to target this smoker since they counter out of that 1 hit. We'll go 10 into 7. They might get rid of this. They actually probably should protect it if it's like in their best interest to protect it, I think, because this thing is just such a menace. Yep. They dump their entire hand to keep this thing alive. That's really good for us to see that they only have 1Ks left. And it also means that we have a pretty good shot at going for lethal this next turn, based off the fact that I have a double attacker and a 7K unit on the field as well. So with 2 cards in hand, depending on what they draw this turn, depending on if they have any more draw this turn, then we likely can go for lethal this next turn. What we should do is we should use our Dead Man's Game first to get out of this 7K attack. Then we need a Rested Dawn so we can restand it with this Bonnie. So let's go ahead and just use the Dead Man's Game, rest. Zoro to, okay, rest the Bonnie. Maybe a reason I should have blocked the Bonnie then? Not sure. I think I wanted to keep the Bonnie just because I wanted to restand that Dawn, but now we don't get to restand it. We do have the Charleston to be able to restand though, so that's fine. That's a +4 and then restands too. So here what we can do is, that puts us in an awkward spot. We could just take this hit. I think we're okay taking this hit because we don't want to tap out 2. We need the 2 open for the Charleston. If they decide to swing anything more, they might restand the Smoker, and the Smoker, if they restand the Smoker, I think we take the hit from the 7 because we don't want to have to counter out of a banish attack. We want to just take this and get as much knowledge as possible. We are not dying this turn all the way through, and we're going to go for lethal this next turn anyway, so I think it's fine to just take this 7. Especially since they restood the Smoker, they're looking to do like a banish attack. So if we just take the life anyway, it won't get banished and it goes to our hand. Another piece that we can use to counter out with. And it's a 2K, so very good at that. 7 with this, we can just use our leader ability, or we could go 2-1. Let's go use leader ability first, so we are efficient here. +2 and then a 1K, and then they're going to swing with the Smoker. And then here they have, oh yeah, I forgot about the Smoker ability. I was going to say they swing 8. They swing 9. We can use our leader ability, tap the 2 Dawn, go up to 9, and then give them a 1K. We could also do Charleston. We were playing it super safe. Really hard to close out games against Red-Green Luffy because of that. Just the amount of things they can get out of. Let's do an 8 into lead because we know that one of the cards is a 1K. So let's go 8 into lead here. Then let's go 9 double attack. See if we can push them down to 0. Yep, down to 0, and then we're just going to put the rest onto our leader here and swing 12 into 5. That should go through, and it does. Okay, so we're looking to go for game the next turn as well with Dead Man's Game and a Hody Jones in hand. Pretty scary. All right, going to go first against Roger. This hand is not really that playable. This is not much better, but at least we have a search with the Garp on 1. We can at least grab a 9-cost Zoro and hope to get a 5-cost on curve, but it doesn't look like, I mean, who knows? We might get it from life, but usually we're not taking any life early, so we just kind of have to be at the mercy of what we draw the next couple of turns, and if we don't draw anything good, then we're just going to swing, I guess, bigger with leader here. the buggy being grabbed off of the Shanks Searcher. Here we're going to play a Nami, which we just got off the top of the deck. Super nice top deck. We're going to get one of our key pieces, which is the unblockable 2K Sanji effect. Not usually that good into this matchup because they don't have too many blockers other than Uta, and sometimes they're running the 5-cost Odin, but not many Rogers are running that overall. Another Shanks Searcher. Looks like they're grabbing the Rush Rayleigh on 8, so something to keep in mind that we should swing with something if we have the ability to on that turn because it will get rested either way. So we're going to counter out of this one, and they're probably going to play the buggy out that they had grabbed from the Shanks. They don't. They grab the 1-cost event, which does the same thing. So better to keep the 2K in hand overall. Wow, this is pretty sad. Okay, so we don't really have anything great here. Our options are swing 5 and swing 6. So we're going to swing 5 and we're going to swing 6, and then we're going to pass the turn after that. You don't really want to not establish any bodies against Roger. Really unfortunate here to be in this situation, but it is what it is. We get the 2K out of the hand at least. Oh, speak of the devil. Okay, so they are running Odin. Here, if they do swing 7, then I think I might just take it, to be quite honest. I could counter out, give them a counter, but I think just take the 7 here is fine because we do need to see some pieces. The piece that we do have in hand is probably going to be a solid one no matter what, though. Restanding all of this Dawn. Then we can play out a Nami. They might want to rest this. In fact, playing this out might be a little bit troll, but I think it's fine. What we can do is we can swing 2 into 2, just get rid of the Shanks, not really going to do anything otherwise. And we'll swing 8 into lead here, meaning that they either have to block and give us a 2 and a 1, or they just block outright so that they stay at 3 life. Now they're going to be going to 10 Dawn, so they can actually play out either like a Roger, a 9-cost Newgate, or even an 8-cost Rayleigh. So all of those. That one's probably the worst of them all. I don't really want to see it. We're going to go ahead and just give them our leader ability plus a 2K here because the Tashigi doesn't really matter. Okay, so what do we do? I think what we end up doing is we just take a turn to go ahead and play out the 9-cost and then hope for the best. We're going to go 6 into 2 because it's all we can do and then pass the turn. Here, if they put 2 Dawn underneath the Newgate, they do get rid of the 1-cost Nami. I think we just have to counter out of this one with our actual counters because we are tapped out. They're not going to put any Dawn underneath that. That's good to see. 10 flat is a little scary, though, because it does mean that this Shanks comes down and we are at 1 life. So we have a lot of protection, which is great. But I think we just grabbed the 2K Sanji here. We're in some trouble. We are in some trouble. This Shanks is actually really good against Zoro because of the fact that it's easier for them to counter out of it. We're going to go 7 into 7. It's a double attack. They have to give us a counter here. And then what I think we end up doing is, can we survive another turn? I think we might be able to. I think we just swing 7 again, get a card out of hand, and then what we can do from there is just leave a lot of Dawn open because we have counter events, we have counter in hand. The 5-cost Sanji is the only thing that's kind of not great. They do give us a 2K off of a 7 to 7, so they will take the 9. Not surprising there based off of that. They might take this other 9, and they might counter out of this one here. We're still not going to be able to close out the game this turn, but what we could do is we could play out this blocker, and then I think we leave the Zoro rested. We don't restand it again. We give them a target to swing into it, and if they swing into the Zoro, it's better for us because it's easier to counter out of. We have a blocker established. They're not... Oh, okay. You know what? The Rayleigh that I mentioned a couple turns ago is, yeah, somewhat important. Who would have thought? So let's go ahead and restand one with the Bonnie here. We do need to get out of 4 of these attacks, which is pretty crazy to do, but I think we can do it. Let's go ahead and Charleston pitching the Sanji, and then we can give him a 2K off of that. Another 9 here. I think what we can do is use a leader ability, and then the Dead Man's Game. Okay, so how do we survive this if they go 12? We can go up to 9, 11, 13. We actually do survive this based off of our hand, so we're going to go ahead and take this. We don't want to counter out of this one because we don't want them to get rid of the Zoro. The Zoro is our winning piece here. So let's go ahead and use our leader ability to go +4, and then we have 2 more 2Ks in hand to get out of the 12K to our life. And then, of course, at this point, we top deck... pistol, we should just put the pistol on the Zoro. We are at least able to use this in the course of this video, thank God. So then we can just swing 18 3 times, and against a Roger, usually is not able to counter out of that 3 times. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and just be safe here and then swing 19 and then 19 again. So that should be game. We were able to survive based off of our ability to be super tanky. And Charleston's actually really strong in this deck because of that. We wouldn't have been able to get out of this without that card. All right, going against Emu here. We want to take second. We just want to get that away from them and mulligan the hand because the hand that we had was not really that playable. This at least has two of our key pieces here, the Sanji 2k counter and the 9-cost Zoro. If they're not running Stussy, then the 9-cost Zoro will be able to stay at least stay alive, hopefully. Especially with the Tashigi on the field, it'll definitely be able to stay alive here. Their game plan is pretty simple for the first couple turns. They're just using their leader ability to be able to cycle through their deck and find the key pieces that they need to make sure that they at least are staying alive. Usually Emu wants to stay at 3 or 2 health and then establish a bunch of blockers with the 10 cost here. So they do find the Never Existed, which is really annoying. A +4 to your leader is just insane for free value. Usually you have to meet some stipulation in other decks, but here, nope, just be Emu. So here I think we just swing 6 into lead. Do we establish a Tashigi quite yet? I don't think so. We could, but I don't know if it's really worth it, to be honest. We also might just establish the Tashigi and then take the hit the next turn because, well, why not? But I think it's better to establish a Tashigi on the turn in which we're also playing a body so that it's harder for them to make that decision. Obviously, they can't get rid of the body. They have to get rid of the Tashigi. If they spend the turn getting rid of the Tashigi, then we can at least swing with the other thing we played that turn. So that's the reason why I think we just hold on to it for now. They're not going to swing into us, or if they do, we'll just use our leader ability pretty easily. The War Curie, of course, I think it's going to just be a free block. We'll go ahead and restand on with this Sanji. Do we play out the Tashigi? I don't think we do quite yet. I think we hold on to it. Maybe that is a decision that I'm going to regret. It's probably going to be a decision I'm going to regret, to be quite honest. I should have just probably played out the Tashigi because I imagine they're going to play out a Mars this turn. But I also think it's important to put the Tashigi out maybe a turn right before the 9-cost Zoro. So maybe this Sanji is a little bit of a fodder unit, but we'll see. Because if, for instance, if we played out the Tashigi this turn, they're going to use the Mars to get rid of the Tashigi. And then if they have a Stussy, then they can easily answer the 9-cost Zoro. That is their way to beat this matchup for them, is they have to be able to answer the 9-cost. So we'll see what they get. They just dumped the Mars. Okay, they dumped the Mars so easily. They're just going to get rid of the Sanji. You're not going to dump a Mars if you have no more in hand. Let's go ahead and play the Cavendish, play out the Tashigi on top of that. We'll swing 6 into lead here and then pass the turn. And then from here, I mean, they're at 4 life. So we're in a little bit of trouble because of the fact that we haven't done any damage to them quite yet and likely will not this turn either. Countering out with the 2K. The next turn, though, we will play out the 9-cost Zoro. And I think it's important to, if we need to, keep it standing the following turn. Like when we swing, we don't want to leave it tapped for a target for them to swing into. All right, pitching the Never Existed. That's usually never a good sign when that is the card that's being pitched. One of their best survivability tools usually means that they have more ready to go. Same thing with the Mars. Since they pitched that, they had one in hand. We're just going to take the 9 here. If they swing really big with the Mars as well, which I doubt they will. Yeah, I don't think they would. They're playing a War Curie. They could have swung with the Mars, though, and been aggressive. I think what we do is we just play out the Zoro this turn. We'll swing with the Cavendish and restand. And then I think what we can do is then swing probably 6 at lead with the leader, with our leader. Leave 2 open for the Charleston just in case. They do block with the War Curie, understood. Here they just block with the Mars, and they're going to their Tendon 5 Elders turn at 4 life. So, yay for us. This is a really rough position to be in. We were just not able to apply any pressure to them. Swinging 6s is really easy for them to counter out of. And especially when they had all of the blockers along the way to be able to get out of these hits. That being said, we can still easily maneuver through this and be fine. So they do pop the Tashigi with the Mars, and they don't have, which is really good for us, they actually don't have the rush unit. I could have protected the Cavendish there. I probably should have, maybe in hindsight, but I think what we can do this turn instead is play out the Shanks, restand all of our Dawn, and then I think we just be modest with our attacks. We're not going to go super huge with the Zoro, but we could. We'll go 9. I think twice. I think 2 times is fine. They haven't seen the rush unit. We could also swing again, but they haven't seen a rush unit, so they're bound to come across it soon. So let's go ahead and just keep it upright. We'll swing 9 into lead, so 3 9s essentially. And they do have another never existed. Because they did that, I think I actually will swing with the Zoro here. It's going to be somewhat easy to protect no matter what. But I just didn't want to go into this next turn and then play another 5 elders and then still be at 4 life, which is insane to me. So let's see if they've been able to find Venus in the meantime. Here, what we're going to end up doing is we're just going to counter out of what we can to our leader. These 7s are really annoying. If we have to take a 7, I think we do. And then we see what they do afterwards. Okay, 9. They're going to go 9 into 9. I think what we can do is just use a counter instead. I was going to say use leader ability, but I don't think we want to hold on to... I think we want to use the Charleston to be able to survive. Or keep the Zoro alive, rather. Just use these 1Ks instead. Let's go ahead and... I think we do it. I think we do it. It doesn't feel efficient, but, I mean... We want to guarantee cards in our hand. We also want to use the Nami potentially to find a pistol. Because pistol's really good to be able to punch through all of these counter events they have. Although they have used quite a lot as of right now. Still no Venus, which is really good for us. The Venus is actually... There we go. They finally find it. That Venus is actually what's going to be the reason we could lose the game, especially if we have a Zoro tap sideways. Just makes it very hard for us to counter out of everything that they do. Let's use the Nami to see if we can find... Okay, we don't find the piece we need, but we do find a 6-cost Luffy, which is another piece that they cannot KO. So let's go ahead and restand Dawn from here, and we'll go ahead and play out the Nami. Actually, I don't know if it makes sense. We could do it, but I think we just keep it in hand as maybe an additional counter. Because they're going to just pop it with the Mars next turn anyway. They counter out of that one with a +3. Good to see that. We'll go 9. They'll probably block this one. Oh, +4 and then a 1K counter. Jeez. This one they'll block, or they might take... I mean, who knows? At this point, opponent has done so many different things that I would have done, then maybe they would take. So they did take that one. Good to see. We do have them down to 2 life here. I think we just passed the turn. I think we passed this turn because of the fact that they didn't use their War Curie. So that means they're not going to get an additional card, and we can push for lethal this next turn with the Zoro. With them being at 2 life, should be pretty easy to just play the unblockable onto the 9 cost and then swing multiple times, and I'm pretty sure that will get through. They've used all of their never existed at this point, so I think it kind of forces them to swing into us and kind of go for game. We'll see. 7 into 5, I think there's a world where we could probably just take this attack just and see what they do afterwards. It's like one of those situations where I don't think we're going to die. Okay, so here, I think we just take these attacks and see. I mean, this one we do not take. We don't go down to 0, especially when they have all these swings left. Let's go ahead and use our leader ability and then give them a... I think a chopper 2K is fine. We want to hold on to the Sanji 2K for as long as possible. They pop the Saturn and then swing 8 with the Mars. I think we do the same thing here. We use our leader ability, and then we could give them 2 1Ks to kind of make them misread our hand, if that's the case. Another one. Okay, so if we take this one, they have one more potential swing with the Venus, which we should be able to get through that next attack. So yeah, what we can do is, if they have another 5 elders, which I think they do have another one. I mean, okay, they do have another one. So then they'll be able to bring out the Venus this turn and have 1 additional swing, which this one's going to likely be for just 7. I don't think they're going to give me that 1 open dawn, because they might have a +3 event if that's the case. Yep, there it is. And if they swing 7 into lead, we just use leader ability plus the 1K in hand. Easy enough. They also might not just swing, but they should. Okay, we'll go ahead and use our leader ability +2 and then give them a Garp. And then here, we'll just have to go for game. I think we hope to draw the pistol, but if we don't get the pistol... close. Ooh, I think we just rest both of the blockers, to be quite honest. I think we just rest both of the blockers here. Being rested is actually just better for us than having 1 unblockable unit, because that means This Luffy can swing, not get blocked. The Shanks can swing, not get blocked. So we can actually just go like 9, 6, 9, 12, or like 9, 9, 9, 9, 13, and a 5. We'll throw a 5 in there somewhere. They do give us a +3 and a 2K event. So we'll go ahead and swing 5 since they just dumped 2 cards from hand. Really awkward for them. They have to give us a card here. This is the easiest swing to get out of course. If they don't, they just lose. Yep. 9. I mean, they just lose anyway, but like they have to give us at that point. So 9 into lead. We'll restand. 9 again into lead. I'll take it. And then we'll restand. And then go 9 again into lead. If they do counter out of this one, we at least have the Shanks to close out from there. So yeah, nice top deck with the Dead Man's Game, but I think we had it with the 2K Sanji no matter what. Well, we squeaked out some wins, and I suppose that's all that matters. I don't think we got the full combo off, but we got pieces of it all together. Overall, though, this deck felt... I gotta be honest, it felt a little bit like a struggle at times because of the fact that we kind of run out of resources if we don't... You know, we're not taking life. We're countering out of every hit. We make it to our 9 Dawn turn and we're like 5 cards in hand. So that does suck because of the fact that we're not getting a lot of resources because we are using our leader ability, which I suppose that's a fine thing. But we do need to make sure that we have our at least a piece or 2 in our opening hand, or at least a piece that can search for those pieces in our opening hand. Otherwise, some games feel a little bit awkward if you're just drawing into cards that don't really matter. Like in the late game, if you draw into 2Ks or like these Namis or whatever it is, instead of any of these pieces, it feels really bad. And you don't really have any agency over that either because of the fact that you just draw what you draw. So that is a downside to this deck. I do think this leader will be stronger over time because of the effect is just really powerful to survive early to mid games. It's a really good anti-aggro leader, especially because it just can get out of a bunch of small attacks for 1 Dawn open, which is really powerful. I think this deck is actually really strong for locals. I personally wouldn't take this to like a Treasure Cup or regional just because I don't think it's quite consistent enough and you will run out of gas quite often. But maybe somebody out there's a little bit braver of a soul than I am. And I do want to cover some of the changes I would make to the deck. Not too many, to be quite honest, but the changes I likely would make would be removing maybe a Nami or 2 to add in another Cavendish or 2. In the intro, I mentioned that this card is a little bit of I guess a trap in a sense where it's like you want to play this down on 5, but more than likely you're going to want to play this down instead. This is a good backup plan. I found myself drawing into too many of these later, and I'd rather draw into something that I can at least attack with. And Cavendish is a pretty solid 1K counter at the end of the day, at least, right? So Cavendish probably increased to 3 or 4. This Nami decreased down to 2 or 3. And I think I'd be happy with the rest of it. Maybe increasing this pistol. We could probably remove a couple of the 10-cost Shanks and then add a couple of the pistols in just to guarantee that we can find this to be able to couple with this and this. I was finding a lot of the 2K Sanjis. I was finding the Zoros, obviously, very consistently, but I wasn't finding the pistol enough, and so I think increasing that to 3 or 4 might be the key there. Overall, I think the deck is very fun. I think it's a strong deck and something to be respected, but I don't think it's going to be winning any large tournaments anytime soon. Hopefully someone out there proves me wrong. Let me know in the comments below what you think about Red Green Luffy. Is there anything that I didn't add in the deck list that you think is pretty spicy that you have in yours? I'd love to hear about that. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.